I was transmigrated into the body of a CEO's husband, a product of a marriage of convenience. Before I could even enjoy the immense wealth, she handed me a divorce agreement. The CEO kept telling me that her old flame was coming back to the country soon, and she had to divorce me immediately. I thought back for a moment. The CEO and I had been married for 3 years, and she had never let me touch her. Now, she was telling me bluntly that she wanted a divorce for another man. I was shocked. How could such a brazen-faced hussy exist in this world? Smack! I raised my hand and slapped the CEO across the face. Forgive me, Buddha, I really couldn't hold back. My apologies, my apologies. Sincere Miller Victoria Ashwood clutched her stinging cheek, glaring at me. Did you just hit me? Smack! I slapped her again. Sorry, I have OCD. Seeing her other cheek perfectly fine, I just couldn't resist evening it out. You hit me again? She stared at me, her eyes red and welling with tears, looking utterly wronged and on the verge of crying. How dare you hit me? Twice? Of course I dared. Based on my years of experience, her desperation to get a divorce meant the ball was in my court. If she wanted me to sign obediently, she would have to play nice. So what if I hit her? She'd just have to suck it up. Oh, Victoria, darling, I'm so sorry. That was just a stress reaction. I immediately switched to a gentle expression and tried to reason with her. A stress reaction? Victoria frowned. Exactly. I nodded, my tone serious. I'm a man. I'm your husband. For you to tell me to my face that you're divorcing me for another man, it's natural I'd have a stress reaction. That's why I lashed out. But I honestly didn't mean to. There was some truth to that. Put yourselves in my shoes. Your wife of 3 years won't let you touch her and then asks for a divorce for another guy. You'd probably want to tear the whole house down. Victoria thought for a moment and then nodded. I know. You've been wrong these past 3 years. See? Even she knew she had gone too far. Take a look at the divorce agreement. I'm willing to give you $50 million as compensation. She gestured with her chin towards the papers on the table as if the slaps were already forgotten. $50 million. My eyebrows shot up. I picked up the agreement and read it carefully. Sure enough, it stated that upon signing I would immediately receive $50 million in compensation. I pursed my lips and looked up at Victoria, asking softly, Victoria, let me ask you something first, and you have to be honest. Go ahead. So, what's the total value of our shared marital assets? At that question, Victoria's face clearly darkened, but she answered truthfully. The company and all the properties combined, it's probably around $10 billion. Hearing that, I narrowed my eyes and just stared at her in silence. We had nearly $10 billion in assets, and she was only willing to give me $50 million. How could she even say that out loud? The fact that I didn't slap her a third time was a testament to my immense self-control. Uncomfortable under my gaze, she quickly tried to defend herself. But most of those assets were earned by me over the past few years. They have nothing to do with you. Her words reminded me that our marriage was one of convenience. In reality, Victoria's company had grown so large in 3 years entirely because my parents had sacrificed their own company's interests to fully support their daughter-in-law's development. With that in mind, I had even more right to take back what was mine. I took a slow breath to calm myself and looked at Victoria again. I had to admit she was stunning. Wavy hair, about 5'9", with skin as white as snow, bright, captivating eyes, and a perfectly proportioned, tall figure. Her waist was slender, and she had a pair of long, pale legs. She was a perfect 10, a real stunner. Yet, in my memory, the original Sincere had lived like a combination of a butler and a stand-up comedian for the past 3 years, dutifully simping for her and providing endless emotional support. And all he got in return was a cold divorce agreement and compensation that was less than 1% of their total assets. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Victoria Ashwood, I leaned in close, using my hand to lift her delicate chin, and gave her a wicked smile. You want a divorce? Fine, but you have to sleep with me first. She had saved herself for her old flame for years. I wasn't about to let her have her way. I was going to taint her. Besides, we were married. Was a request like this really so unreasonable? Her eyes widened in anger. If you don't agree, not only will I refuse the divorce, but I'll also tell your precious old flame all about us. I added another threat. My guess was she hadn't even told Mr. Moonlight that she was married. Being a good guy was useless with Victoria. The original Sincere had simped for her for years, and his miserable end was a lesson learned. I'll give you 3 minutes to think about it. With that, I stepped back and plopped down on the bed, waiting for her decision. She glared at me for a long time before finally spitting out sincere, "I never knew you were this kind of man." "This kind of man? You're the one who forced me to be." I shrugged. She could forget about trying to guilt-trip me. I wasn't the original Sincere, that fool who only knew how to give. Before transmigrating, I'd worked 18 different jobs. I'd seen the best and worst of people, and I was terrified of being poor. I've always been the kind of guy who takes the cake and eats it too. The CEO wants a divorce? I was going to strip her of everything I could. "Fine, you win." After another long, tense silence, Victoria finally gave in for the sake of her old flame. I immediately reached out, grabbed her pale hand, and pulled her gently into my arms. The original Sincere had a beauty by his side but didn't know how to enjoy her. Well, sorry, but I was going to try for him. A long while later, we finally stopped and lay on the bed to rest. Victoria had indeed been saving herself, but now that was over. She was practically numb but still pushed through the discomfort to bring up the divorce. "Now, can you sign the papers?" "Not yet," I refused again. She gritted her teeth in anger, frowning at me. "You've already taken my most precious thing. What more do you want?" Sleeping with her was to make up for the last 3 years of neglect. Want a divorce? We still had to talk about splitting the assets. Most of her assets were acquired after our marriage, including the profits my family's company had sacrificed. I had to get half. No discussion. I wasn't some weak-willed pushover from a romance novel. I was going to take back what was rightfully mine and get some emotional damages on top of it. I shifted slightly and pulled her into my arms. Victoria resisted at first, but as soon as I asked, "Do you still want a divorce?" she obediently leaned against me. "Victoria, your body doesn't reject me. Why don't we just not get a divorce?" I tried to persuade her. Her words might keep people at a distance, but her body's reaction was the complete opposite. It was very enthusiastic towards me. We were incredibly compatible in bed. No, Victoria's attitude was firm. "I'm getting this divorce no matter what." Frustrated, I had no choice but to state my terms. "All right, have it your way. But the assets must be split 50-50. The moment I said that, she shot up and retorted coldly, "On what grounds? For 3 years, I was the one working my tail off while you lived a comfortable life at home. Why should you get half of my fortune?" She was completely blind to the original Sincere's contributions. I sat up too and shrugged. "If you don't agree, then we'll just go through the legal process." It was no longer about whether Victoria wanted a divorce. It was about me wanting one, and I had to walk away with half her fortune. "Sincere, you've changed. I don't even know you anymore." Victoria tried to change the subject. I knew she was trying to guilt-trip me again, so I cut her off. "If you can't part with the assets, then we won't get a divorce." I wasn't in a hurry. She was the one desperate to run off to her old flame. In the end, Victoria couldn't bear to part with half her fortune, and the negotiations stalled. Later, I had someone look into it. Her old flame was named Ethan Donovan. After a few unsuccessful years abroad, he was coming back to find Victoria. Ethan was due back in just over a month. With a 1-month cooling-off period for a divorce, that meant Victoria had only a few days to decide whether to give me half the assets if she wanted to be completely free of me. No matter what, I was getting that 50-50 split. Since a huge amount of money was involved, I was worried she or her old flame might do something reckless. So I took the time to file a preventative report with the police. At dinner that night, I told Victoria about the police report. She was instantly furious and hurt. "Sincere, you actually think I would hire someone to kill you? We've been together for 3 years. Do you really think I'm that kind of person?" "You might not be, but who knows about your Mr. Moonlight?" I shrugged nonchalantly. She pouted. "Don't worry, Ethan has a kind heart. He would never do something like that." I smiled. "Well, just so you know, if anything happens to me, the police will suspect you and your Mr. Moonlight first." She snorted dismissively. That night, thinking about how the original Sincere had always slept in a separate room from Victoria, I couldn't help but slap my forehead. God, what a complete idiot. No wonder you couldn't win your wife over in 3 years. Even if they weren't intimate, sleeping in the same bed for 3 years should have built some kind of bond. The original Sincere was far too respectful. But I was different. I grabbed my pillow and barged into Victoria's room. "Hello, wifey. Let's sleep together." Naturally, she refused. Get out, I ignored her, walked straight to the bed, and pulled back the covers. You're my wife. It's only natural for us to sleep in the same bed. I've only just realized today what a shameless bastard you are, she glared at me. I glanced at her computer screen, which she hastily tried to cover. Relax, I already saw. It's just your chat history with Mr. Moonlight, right? I scoffed and pulled her hand away. What did you talk about? Let me give you some pointers. Don't look. Victoria panicked, but she was no match for my strength. I snatched the laptop and used my hip to shove her aside. Vicky, in just another month I'll be able to see you again. Can't wait for you to come back, Big E. I read the messages aloud, making her flush with a mix of shame and anger as she slapped at me. Give it back, stop reading. I did as she asked, closing the laptop and placing it on the nightstand. Then, I rolled over and pinned her beneath me. Wifey, calling him so affectionately, I'm jealous, you need to be punished. Since I never really considered her my wife, I didn't get angry no matter how sweet their chats were. Right now, I just wanted to stir her desire and enjoy our marital duties. After a few rounds, Victoria finally settled down. When we were done, she snuggled up to me, curling into my arms like a kitten, her face a pout of playful resentment. How about this? I'll sleep with you for a month, and I'll give you 20% of the company shares plus 10 properties. How's that? She was bringing up the asset split again. I rolled my eyes. No deal, then I stated firmly, if you want a divorce, it has to be a 50-50 split. With that, I closed my eyes and ignored her. Over the next few days, her desperation for a divorce led her to repeatedly try to negotiate the asset division with me. But every time we talked, it would end with me pulling her into bed for another session. Our marriage was a secret, not publicly known, so even though she was losing out with me, she couldn't risk making a scene. This became my leverage. We went on like this for over a month, and the divorce agreement remained unsigned, and she slept with me for that whole month. Our nights were wild and exhilarating. Then, the day came. Her old flame, Ethan Donovan, returned to the country. That evening, Victoria went to the airport to pick him up. Afterwards, they went to a high-end restaurant and even sat at a private table for couples. I had someone keeping tabs on them, and photos of their intimate moments were sent to my phone one by one. I immediately set out, bringing a newly drafted divorce agreement, and headed to the restaurant. When I walked in, I spotted Victoria and her Mr. Moonlight, Ethan Donovan, right away. The guy wasn't as handsome as me. I had no idea what Victoria saw in him. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess. Victoria saw me too and quickly looked down, like a child caught stealing cookies. Before I could walk over, she excused herself and headed to the restroom. I cornered her when she came out. What are you doing here? She glanced around nervously, worried as always that Mr. Moonlight would see us. I slapped the divorce agreement, the one demanding a 50-50 split, against her chest. Sign it! You don't want your old flame to find out you're married and have been sleeping with me, do you? Now it was my turn to chase her for a signature. I'd seen their chat history. Ethan still thought Victoria was a pure, unmarried virgin who had been saving herself for him. So, I thought I'd try using that to threaten her. Say what you want. After a moment, she calmed down and shrugged nonchalantly. Worst case, we both go down. If you dare to tell him, I'll never divorce you, and you can forget about getting half the assets. With that, she casually tossed the agreement into a nearby trash can. I froze for a second, surprised that even bringing up Ethan didn't work. This old flame wasn't very effective, was he? Vicky, speak of the devil. Ethan Donovan had come looking for her. Seeing me, Mr. Moonlight's brow furrowed, and he immediately went on high alert. Vicky, who is this? Hello. Before Victoria could introduce me, I spoke up. My name is Sincere Miller. I'm Ms. Ashwood's business partner. I shot Victoria a suggestive eyebrow raise. She must have been so grateful. Look how considerate I was. To avoid ruining her date, I, her actual husband, was calling myself an outsider in front of the homewrecker. Mr. Miller. Mr. Moonlight leaned closer to Victoria, deliberately resting against her and feigning drunkenness as he introduced himself. I'm her boyfriend. I just got back in the country today. He might have looked tipsy, but his eyes were full of suspicion as he looked at me. All right, Big E, let me get you a room upstairs to rest. This place was a hotel. Victoria supported Mr. Moonlight, preparing to get him a room. As they turned to leave, Mr. Moonlight shot me a smirk over his shoulder. I read the challenge in it. It was the sneer of a victor looking down on a loser. I wasn't worried. I followed them and got a room myself, right next door to Mr. Moonlight. The moment they entered their room, I called Victoria. "Hey, I'm in room 355, right next door. You have 1 minute to get over here, otherwise I'm calling the paparazzi to come catch a cheater in your room." Victoria and I had a marriage certificate. We were a legitimate couple. What was Mr. Moonlight? When it came down to it, he was the homewrecker. I hung up immediately after saying my piece. Meanwhile, in the room next door, the second Ethan entered the room, he tried to embrace Victoria. Victoria, however, had no intention of staying with him. Just then, her phone rang. Seeing it was a call from her hubby, she breathed a sigh of relief, pushed Ethan away and answered. When she heard her nominal husband was right next door and demanding her presence within a minute, Victoria was speechless, but she did as she was told. "Big E, something urgent came up that I need to handle. You stay here at the hotel tonight and get some rest. Come to my office tomorrow, and I'll arrange a place for you to stay." Without waiting for Ethan to react, Victoria hurried out. As the door clicked shut, Ethan's expression turned sinister. It was that Sincere Miller. He slammed his fist against the wall in anger. He had clearly seen that the call was from Sincere, though he didn't know what they said. His gut told him their relationship was far from simple. After leaving the room, Victoria checked to make sure Ethan hadn't followed before pushing open the door to my room. When she came in, I pointed to the bathroom. "Go take a shower. I'm not letting you touch me again." Victoria stood her ground, her tone firm. "Tisk," I scoffed dismissively. "Stop wasting time." I walked over, swept her up into my arms, and carried her into the bathroom myself. A while later, the sound of Victoria's unrestrained, beautiful moans filled the bathroom. That night, Mr. Moonlight did not sleep well. When he woke up the next morning, he arrived at the company with dark circles under his eyes and yawned as soon as he saw Victoria. "Big E, what's wrong? Was it the jet lag? Didn't you sleep well?" Victoria asked with concern. Ethan was blunt. "There was a couple in the room next to me last night. They were going at it until the middle of the night, and I didn't get a wink of sleep. Especially the woman. She was a screamer, sounded like she had a stereo speaker hooked up." Hearing this, Victoria's face turned beet red. "Damn it, that stereo speaker woman was standing right in front of him just then. I arrived at the office and happened to overhear Ethan's complaint." I strolled past Victoria with my hands in my pockets and gave her a suggestive look. She shot me a glare in return. We didn't say a word, but it felt like 1,000 were exchanged. When Mr. Moonlight saw me, his expression changed instantly. Hey, he hurried over and blocked my path. "Vicky, what is he doing here?" "Me?" I pointed to myself, smiled, and answered for Victoria. "I'm coming to work at the company. Is that a problem?" Hearing this, Mr. Moonlight got fired up. "Vicky, I don't like him being in the company. Fire him, heh." I chuckled again, scoffed, and continued to provoke him. "Sir, I'm one of this company's shareholders. Your girlfriend can't fire me." With that, I raised an eyebrow at Victoria right in front of him, then turned and walked away. Mr. Moonlight was so angry he was practically fuming. "Vicky, buy out his shares and fire him at this." Victoria's brows furrowed deeply. Putting everything else aside, buying out a shareholder's shares? Was that something a business school graduate who'd studied abroad would actually say? Did he think running a company was child's play? "Big E, I think you have a prejudice against Sincere. Also, a shareholder's stake is legally protected. I can't just get rid of him." As Victoria spoke, her expression grew stern. Ethan immediately realized he had misspoken. His eyes darted around as he tried to explain. I was just so angry at that guy that I wasn't thinking straight. I was just talking nonsense." He quickly changed the subject. "By the way, Vicky, didn't you say you wanted me to come to the company so you could arrange a job for me?" "Oh," Victoria remembered. She had originally planned to make Ethan the project department manager, but she changed her mind at the last minute and decided to make him her assistant instead. Ethan was thrilled. "I get to be Vicky's assistant? That's great, I can be with you all the time." When I heard this news, I was not pleased. I strolled into Victoria's office with a cup of coffee and locked the door behind me. "Victoria Ashwood, I hear you're keeping Mr. Moonlight around as your assistant. I am very unhappy right now." Victoria had been engrossed in her work. Hearing my familiar tone, she looked up, put down her pen, crossed her arms, and said with a slight pout, "Just spit it out. What do you want?" I smiled. After all our recent time together, the CEO wife and I were becoming more and more in sync. I walked over, downed my coffee in one gulp, and set the cup on her desk. When I looked up at her, my eyes gleamed like a wolf staring at its prey. I rubbed my hands together and beckoned to her with my finger. "Stand up, turn around." We had tried all sorts of positions. Victoria knew exactly what I wanted. A deep, slightly shy smile spread across her face. "Hurry up. I have an important meeting in half an hour." With that, she obediently stood up and did as I said. Half an hour was a bit tight, but for me, it was enough. When I left Victoria's office, Mr. Moonlight, clutching a file, immediately intercepted me. "Mr. Miller," the accountant, he said coldly, "what were you two talking about in my girlfriend's office just now? Why did you need to lock the door?" Hearing this, I secretly lamented how soundproof the office door was. What a shame Mr. Moonlight hadn't heard Victoria's melodious tunes. I was giving Ms. Ashwood a financial report. It involved sensitive information and we didn't want to be disturbed, so we locked the door. Same old story. I was such a good guy helping Victoria cover up her crimes again, but it still felt strange. We were the legally married couple, yet here I was explaining myself to the homewrecker. Then again, I found it rather amusing. After my explanation, I gave Ethan a smirk and walked past him. From Ethan's perspective, my smile was a direct provocation. Don't think I can't see what's going on. There's definitely something fishy between you two," he muttered behind me. Just then, Victoria came out of her office. Ethan immediately shut up and put on a fawning smile for Victoria. "Vicky," I finished the report. "Could you take a look? Just leave it on my desk. I'm heading to a meeting now." I returned to the finance department office. I walked over to Vivian Jones's desk, the girl with the glasses, and placed my cup where she could easily reach it. "Vivian, any progress?" Vivian was my person, and she was helping me look into the company's books. "Boss, all the accounts are clean. There's no sign of any asset transfers." I nodded at her report. Vivian had worked at my father's company. She was a top university graduate, highly capable, and I trusted her. "If you find any evidence of her cheating with Ethan Donovan, file a lawsuit immediately," I told Vivian, a dark look in my eyes. That's right. I wasn't just investigating Victoria's company projects. I was preparing to sue her. It was always the same. What I wanted were her assets. As for her body and her heart, those things didn't matter. The next day, a rumor spread through the company that the new assistant was Victoria Ashwood's boyfriend. The new assistant was, of course, Ethan Donovan, and he, riding on his status as Victoria's boyfriend, started throwing his weight around the office, particularly enjoying finding fault with the finance department. "You people in finance should clean up more. Throw out all these plants." He pointed at the small potted plants on everyone's desks, ordering them to be thrown away. "And these trinkets." He then turned his attention to the various small decorations on the desks. "Get rid of these too, you're here to work. From now on, I don't want to see any of this clutter on your desks." After his tirade, he strutted over to me, chin held high, and sneered in a low voice. "I'm Vicky's real boyfriend. I'm going to marry her. This company will be mine sooner or later. Just you wait. I'll make sure you're kicked out of here." I just scoffed, not bothering to engage with him. After Ethan left, puffing out his chest like a pompous rooster, the entire finance department erupted in complaints. I just kept scrolling on my phone, paying it no mind. However, that afternoon the company issued a new rule. No plants or personal decorations were allowed on desks. Violators would be fined. Clearly, Victoria had listened to Ethan's suggestion. Once again, I took my coffee to Victoria's office, locked the door, and then, under her watchful gaze, I threw the stuffed animal and small cactus from her desk into the trash. Victoria was instantly furious. "Sincere, are you out of your mind?" I shrugged and argued logically. The company issued a new rule. No decorations or plants on desks. "Victoria, as the boss, you can't have special privileges." Victoria was left speechless. "This new rule was Ethan's idea, wasn't it?" I asked. She didn't answer, which was a tacit admission. I snorted, leaned in closer, and said with a contemptuous smile, "You just do whatever Ethan tells you to do. Now I'm jealous. What are you going to do about it?" She knew what I meant, but this time she held back. "Don't start anything in the office again. I don't want rumors spreading around the company." I didn't care what Victoria thought. I forcefully pulled her up and placed her on the desk. It was 2 hours later when I finally left her office. I glanced back at a satisfied-looking Victoria and casually closed the door. As I turned, I was once again blocked by Mr. Moonlight. You two were alone in there for 2 hours. Again, tell me, what were you doing?" His face was contorted with rage, his wide eyes looking like they were about to shoot fire. "Ms. Ashwood and I were discussing work, Assistant Donovan. If you don't believe me, you're welcome to go in and ask her yourself." There I was again, explaining myself to the homewrecker. It was truly laughable. but for some reason I quite enjoyed explaining things to him. Ethan snorted, then said, "Let me give you some advice. Don't be a homewrecker. It's shameful to interfere in other people's relationships." I actually froze. I watched as he stuck his chin out and walked into Victoria's office with an air of righteous indignation. It took me a long moment to process what he'd said. I shook my head and let out a soft laugh. I couldn't wait to see the look on Ethan's face when he found out that he was the homewrecker. That night, Victoria arranged for Ethan to stay in an apartment near the company. My informant reported that she only dropped him off downstairs and didn't go up with him. I was puzzled. "You missed Mr. Moonlight every day when he was gone. Now that he's back, where is all your enthusiasm gone?" I had a feeling Victoria wasn't showing Ethan the passion he expected. Logically, they hadn't seen each other in years. It should have been like dry tinder in a spark, ready to ignite and burn for 3 days and 3 nights. But there was no fire. Soon, I figured out why. A little while later, Victoria came home. She kicked off her heels and immediately started complaining to me. "You're like a man on a mission these days. Nighttime isn't enough. You have to go at it during the day, too. You're exhausting me." She sounded like a wife complaining about her overly amorous husband. And in that moment, I realized something. It was my fault I was keeping her so thoroughly satisfied every day that she had no energy or desire to go foraging elsewhere. It suddenly clicked. I wasn't the original Sincere. The original Sincere had simped for Victoria endlessly and gotten nothing in return. Me, on the other hand, I tormented her daily. I threatened her, warned her, and even forced her to have trysts with me in all sorts of clandestine places. And all of this, it turned out that Victoria actually liked it. She hadn't mentioned the divorce in a long time. In fact, I was the one who kept pushing for it. Good news, the CEO seems to be falling for me. Bad news, I only love her money. And of course, her gorgeous body. The CEO didn't want a divorce anymore. But I wanted to take a huge chunk of her fortune. And at the same time, I lusted after her body. What was I to do? I remember thinking then that I had to come up with a brilliant plan to have my cake and eat it too. To put it bluntly, I wanted to get divorced and take the assets, but I also wanted to keep Victoria's body for my own enjoyment. Perhaps I was being too greedy. "Sincere, what are you thinking about?" Victoria came over, sat right on my lap, and rested her head on my chest, cuddling up like we were a perfectly harmonious couple. "I'm sorry. It was my fault. I shouldn't have listened to Ethan without doing my own research." She was apologizing for what happened during the day. She was no longer calling him Big E, but by his full name. Based on my extensive experience, this was a clear sign that she was ready to settle down and live a proper life with me. But I was dead set on divorcing her. The next day, the person monitoring Victoria and Ethan sent me a video. They had been alone in the underground parking garage. During that time, Ethan made a surprise move and hugged Victoria. Although Victoria eventually pushed him away, the hug lasted for a noticeable period. To be blunt, Victoria's resistance wasn't very forceful. With that attitude, if Ethan ever forced himself on her, she'd probably just let it happen. Her attitude only strengthened my resolve to get a divorce. Assistant Lee. I called Vivian Jones over and gave her the video, along with the screenshots of Victoria and Ethan's sweet online chats I had collected earlier. Cut the video before the end and use it along with the chat screenshots as evidence to sue Victoria Ashwood for adultery. I finally filed for divorce. When she received the summons, Victoria stormed into the finance department with a bewildered Ethan trailing behind her. Sincere Miller Victoria slammed the summons on my desk and demanded loudly, "Explain this to me. What is going on?" Ethan stared blankly at the summons. "A divorce petition. Vicky, what's going on?" Victoria was in no mood to explain to him. Her eyes were fixed on me. I calmly put down my phone and looked at her. "It's exactly what it looks like. I'm divorcing you." The moment I said that, the office erupted. Whoa, did I hear that right? Mr. Miller, the accountant, is divorcing Ms. Ashwood? They were married? So, that means Mr. Miller is Ms. Ashwood's husband. Wait a minute, if Mr. Miller is her husband, then what's with Assistant Donovan? Everyone said he was her boyfriend. Hold on, if Ms. Ashwood has a husband, then Assistant Donovan is the other man? Yeah, and he's been bossing us around all the time, even yelling at Ms. Ashwood's actual husband. How did he have the nerve? The truth was out. I was Victoria's husband. Ethan, who had been parading around as her boyfriend, was completely stunned. No way! Vicky, you're married? Tell me, what the hell is going on? He was losing his mind, relentlessly questioning Victoria. Victoria, completely fed up, pointed to the door. Assistant Donovan, please leave. Her harsh tone made her feelings towards him crystal clear. Ethan looked at Victoria, then at me, his face rigid. He probably felt like he'd just swallowed a fly. Ultimately, under the mocking gazes of everyone in the office, he left in disgrace. Victoria then called me into her office to discuss the divorce privately. Now she was clearly panicking. She clung to me, desperately seeking affection. Sincere, hubby, we've slept together so many times. I've been your woman for a long time. Why do you have to divorce me? Let's not get a divorce. Please stop trying to divorce me, okay? Her attitude was unprecedentedly humble. She even started to pleasure me right there, trying to win me over. But my mind was made up. I was sticking with the lawsuit. In the time leading up to the court date, Victoria tried everything she could to please me. She started cooking in the kitchen. She took me to the movies, to romantic dinners, going on dates like a real couple. In certain private places, she would even initiate sex, and no matter what she did, I went along with it. After all, it was true that I craved her body, and besides, I just wanted to divorce her for the assets. I never said I wanted to leave her. During this time, Ethan kept a low profile at the company. When he saw me, his previous arrogance and defiance were gone. He would even actively avoid me. But Victoria fired him anyway. Vicky, you can't do this to me. I came back to this country for you. And you were the one who never told me you were married and let me act like your boyfriend. I've become the laughingstock of the whole company. Why do you have to fire me too? In the underground parking garage, Ethan blocked Victoria's path, reminiscing about the past and questioning her. I happened to be driving by, so I decided to stick around and watch the show. Yes, I lied to you when we were chatting online back then, but you lied to me too. Weren't you also married when you were abroad? And for the record, I never once said you were my boyfriend. That was all your own assumption. And so, the once sweet online couple had finally reached the end of the road. Good. This was the outcome I wanted to see. Victoria Ashwood. Come on, let's go home. I didn't watch the whole thing. I took the opportunity to wave at Victoria, interrupting Ethan's pestering. Hearing my voice, Victoria's heart leaped with joy. Her husband was telling her to go home. Did that mean he might drop the divorce suit? Filled with hope, she left Ethan behind and eagerly hopped into my car. We got intimate in the car. When we got home, we went straight at it, battling it out until we were both exhausted. Our relationship was heating up fast, as if we were a couple in the first flush of love. Meanwhile, the fired Ethan was rejected by every company he interviewed with. He had no real skills to begin with, and had been coasting on Victoria's support. Later, Ethan became a male model and teamed up with a few vicious criminals to kidnap me. They succeeded. Sincere Miller, you were married to Victoria all along. Why did you hide it from me? And you said you were just business partners. Was it fun tricking me? They tied me to a small stool. Ethan grabbed my collar and screamed hysterically. I admit I tricked you, but you're no saint either. Besides, it was a secret marriage, and we're in the middle of a divorce. I told him the truth. You bastards, both of you are bastards. Ethan's face grew more and more twisted. I only just figured it out. When you two were alone in the office, you were doing that fine. Was it good sleeping with her? I'm going to make you both pay then. He made a call, telling Victoria to bring $100 million in cash, a loan, for my ransom. He warned her that if she called the police, he would kill me immediately. Listening from the side, I couldn't help but roll my eyes at him. Did this guy have any idea how much $100 million in cash was? Did he really think Victoria could carry that by herself? After making the call, Ethan hung up and looked at me, a deranged obsession in his eyes. When your wife gets here, I'm going to screw her right in front of you. And not just me, I'm going to let all my buddies have a turn too. I want you to watch as we all take turns with her, ha ha ha. His failure to sleep with Victoria upon his return had driven Ethan into a state of pathological madness. Too bad. He would never get the chance. Don't move suddenly. The place was swarmed by police officers. They were all armed, their black pistols aimed squarely at Ethan and his gang of thugs. From being kidnapped to being rescued, it took less than 20 minutes. I had been having Ethan monitored the entire time. How could he have possibly kidnapped me so easily? To be blunt, I let him succeed. The moment he named his ransom amount, the police made their move. I wanted his crime to carry the maximum possible sentence, demanding $100 million in ransom. Barring any surprises, Ethan would be spending the rest of his life in prison. When I got home, Victoria was still in the process of gathering the cash. My God, in such a short time, the entire room was filled with stacks of red bills. Seeing me return safely, Victoria burst into tears. I held her and comforted her for a long time before she finally calmed down. We looked like a deeply loving and devoted couple. But on the day of the divorce hearing, I still didn't withdraw the suit. In court that day, Victoria's eyes were red as she kept looking at me. She didn't say a single word from beginning to end. She absolutely couldn't understand why, after we had just spent the previous night in an 18-round battle in the bedroom, we were still proceeding with the divorce hearing today. My lawyer presented the screenshots of her intimate chats with Ethan. He also showed the video of their embrace, carefully edited to cut off at the end, along with photos of them entering the hotel room together and eating a couple's meal. Seeing all this, Victoria just shook her head. No, that's not it. Ethan and I only chatted online, and that was a long time ago. Nothing physical ever happened between us. That night, I helped him to his hotel room, but I was actually staying next door, in the same room as my husband. Even though she didn't believe she had actually cheated, the evidence I provided was overwhelming. Many of the photos were deliberately framed to incriminate her, and she couldn't explain them away. In the end, the court found her guilty of adultery and granted our divorce on the spot. And she was the at-fault party. She got 40% of the marital assets. I got 60%. After the verdict was announced, I still went over and took Victoria's hand, smiling as I told her, "Vicky, we're just divorced, not separated. Don't look so sad. Give me a smile." Victoria was completely bewildered by my actions. "Sincere, what do you mean?" "Me," I shrugged. "I just wanted to split the assets." "I never said I wanted to split up with you." "Split the assets." Victoria wasn't stupid. She suddenly understood. Her husband didn't want to leave her. He just wanted her money. "So the money is more important than me?" She was upset now, tugging at my sleeve and starting to cry. I narrowed my eyes at her and asked back, "What do you think?" Victoria's tears immediately turned into a smile. I guess the money is more important." See? Even she knew the money was more important. Mainly because our marital assets were close to $10 billion. Any rational, clear-headed person would know the money was more important. Of course, that's not to say people aren't important. Victoria wasn't just a love-struck fool. The moment she refused to sign the 50-50 split agreement, I knew she was the same kind of person as me. From then on, we continued our lives together. We were inseparable every day, even more affectionate than before the divorce. Even after we had our second child, I never remarried her. I have always believed in one thing and one thing only. In the face of immense fortune, human nature cannot be tested. I will never trust anyone. As long as I hold on to my money, no one can ever hurt me.